Right, now South African food producer Tiger Brands is looking at what it calls significant job losses. It's also not paying an interim dividend as its business is hit by supply disruptions and margin pressures. The makers of Jungle Oats and Tastic rice say first half headline earnings per share fell 35% to 501 cents. It expects coronavirus related costs of about 500 million rand to hit profit in the second half of the year. I'm joined now by Tiger Brands CEO Noel Doyle. Thanks very much, Mr. Doyle, for joining us. So it sounds like it's been a tough period for you guys. Your results reflect the 6 months ended March 2020. You recorded a 2% increase in revenue, but a 2% decline in sales volumes. And your operating income was down 29% at 1.1 billion rand. Just take us through the dynamics of those numbers, please.
I guess our results kind of dovetail very neatly with your previous speaker. So essentially sort of operating in a very tough environment where the consumer was searching for value. We found it very difficult to get top-line growth that came from both volume and price. So where we got price, we lost volume, and vice versa. And it's quite clear that in the search for value, a company like ours is going to have to moderate its pricing premiums and therefore find a cost base that can support prices that consumers can pay.
So you've been looking to sell off your value-added meat products business. What's happening in that regard?
Negotiations are ongoing in that regard, and we are still hopeful that we can conclude a transaction that would result in us being able to exit that business without any job losses within the business. It's a complex transaction because we're not dealing with one individual party, and clearly selling a loss-making business in this environment comes with its complexities. So we are still deep in negotiations. I think we're negotiating with parties who are committed to making a transaction happen. We just haven't reached the threshold of high probability that would have allowed us to classify it as a discontinued operation from an accounting perspective.
So tell us, Mr. Doyle, what sort of impact has the new coronavirus reality been having on your business?
Look, I think we've been very fortunate. First of all, that we've been, barring one or two categories, we've been allowed, if you like, the privilege of operating right through the lockdown, and we've managed to sort of keep our supply chain moving. We've got a healthy balance sheet, so we've been able to invest in stock. I guess the real impact is as we go forward, April and May, where the lockdown was quite intense at levels 5 and 4, there was a limit to where people could spend their money, and therefore we've seen people sort of put more money into food, if you like. As the lockdown eases and the full impact is felt, then I think we're going to see a challenge in terms of consumer demand, and that will be coupled with the sort of direct on-cost that we spoke about in our results of about 500 billion around compliance, lost margin, and the impact of the pricing regulations.
Very costly indeed. So we know the South African economy has been hit hard by the associated COVID lockdown phases. What's the outlook for your business in this context, and what's this we're also hearing about possible job losses?
Look, it's quite clear from our results that we're not going to be in a position to continue to charge the premium and grow our volume shares without re-engineering our costs. And certainly job losses is the last lever that one wants to pull in this environment, and will be the last lever. But as we go through category by category, there's almost an inevitability that we will see some job losses between now and the end of the financial year.
All right, Mr. Doyle, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time.
It's a pleasure.
You're welcome. That was Noel Doyle. He's the CEO of Tiger Brands.